a big fat controversy on our hands. Out goes all of the excitement from Bregman coming in with the elevated win expectations, shoring up the defense. And now we have a Gold Glover who rightfully belongs at third base and someone who is overpaid to appease the fans and is a mighty left-handed stick saying that he's not going anywhere. Why, go ahead, John, and just type in Rafael Devers defense, and Gemini, as part of the Google application, says first, Rafael Devers' defensive rankings have been below average throughout his entire career. So what are we going to do, John? What are we going to do?
So, Fitzy, you said you want to go back to the good feelings of Bregmania, so really just we'll go back to a couple hours ago. I mean, this is nuts. And look, first of all, we're going to get into the Devers comments. It's, to me, just delusional and selfish. But I think a lot of this is going to hinge on Christian Campbell. And we've been hearing for years about the kids. They're coming up. It was the big four. Now it's the big three. If Christian Campbell is ready to play Major League second base at the end of spring training, and there's a real possibility he will be, then he should be your second baseman. Bregman should be your third baseman, and Devers should be your DH. That's the best thing for the baseball team. Right now, on February 17th, you're probably better off having Bregman at second and Devers at third because their middle infield defense has been terrible for 2 years. However, I'm not going to be surprised if 3, 4, 5 weeks from now, Christian Campbell's ready to go. And then if that happens, and Christian Campbell's ready to go, and he's at second, and Bregman's at third, and your highest paid player, who a lot of offensive metrics compare him to a mid-20s Ted Williams, and that's not an exaggeration, you can look into it, is going to throw a tantrum because he's the worst third baseman in the major leagues, not an exaggeration either, because he doesn't want to be a DH. I mean, that is just hang a sign around your neck that just says, I'm selfish. That's really that's what we're talking about here, is a guy who, your highest paid player, your best hitter, the only other guy in your lineup, by the way, that's won a World Series besides Bregman. And he, if Christian Campbell's ready, he's still not going to move? I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's a great point, John. And we'll get to what Alex Cora had to say about all of this in just a couple of moments. You guys can join us at any point during the show today by texting in or dialing up for a phone call and speaking to or being read aloud by producer David at 617-779-7937. Text and phone line wide open for you guys and your input all day long on the developing Raffy Devers story, Four Nations, the All-Star Game, anything Pats-tastic, of course. Whatever you guys want to discuss, we're here for you till 6 p.m. And, of course, you can also consume the show on the Odyssey app. Download it today, AUDACY. Like my pal Vinny down in Holbrook, who just texted me, said, I'm listening on the Odyssey app. My God, I absolutely loved what Alex Cora had to say today. That's true leadership. That's what this team needs. And you can jump in the Twitch chat at twitch.tv/Boston WEEI. So, Dan, John says this is so infuriating right from the jump because it's selfish. Now, I don't know exactly how much has been asked of Raffy Devers over the last couple of years. We have called him the reluctant spokesman on a team that has a dearth of true leadership. I guess maybe the last real leader on the team might have been Justin Turner a couple of years back. A lot of us opined for them to hold on to him because he played defense all over the infield. He did anything they asked of him, dependable right-handed stick, and he was always available, as Bradfo would tell us, for a good quote sound bite or some proper leadership. The Sox suffered for that last year, even though the team seemed a little more talented. Now, just when it seems like we're turning the ship in the canal, we got John Henry lighting cigars, we got Red Sox fans buying up tickets, even Sam Kennedy seems like he's slept more than 4 hours for an evening. Now we've got this act of, as John Lyons called it, selfishness. I don't disagree.
No, I can't either. And the thing that is so disheartening for me, coming off of the fervor, there's no way that Raffy Devers doesn't look around and recognize the excitement that's going on in Red Sox Nation right now. He's seen the best of the best in 2018. He came in right at the forefront of some of the most exciting Red Sox games that we've seen in the last 5-10 years. He's seen the good. He's seen the bad. Now he sees a complete 180 in the way that fans are feeling, the way that it seems like the players are feeling. You've seen the videos coming from spring training. It looks electric. It seems like everybody's in very good spirits right now.
People are actually there.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing.
I'm not even trying to be a jerk.
And not because tickets have been given to them or they bought into a package or because it's a nice place to enjoy a hot dog and a cold beer on a Fort Myers Tuesday, John.
And look at the conversation that we're having about it. For the first time in a very long time, people came onto these microphones and talked positively about the Red Sox after that kind of signing. He recognizes that, and still the first media availability that you have after it, you have to plant your flag in the ground and say, no, this is not going to impact the way that I go about business. My question to Raffy Devers and Fitzy, I would ask this, I guess, indirectly of you is, what have you really done other than get paid a lot of money and swing a decent stick? I'll give you that. What have you done defensively and as a leader on this team other than just be here to earn the right to plant your flag in the ground and say, no, that's my position, and not answer the question, I'm just here to do what helps this team win? What has he really done enough to earn the right to be able to say that right now?
Aside from a couple of clutch home runs and proving paternal ownership over Garrett Cole, not much.
Yeah, and
honestly,
look, he's an elite offensive player.
Yeah.
I give him that. But
sure.
You mentioned 2018.
Yep.
If you go back to 2018, he was good. Had, I think, a big homer and was a game 4 or 5 of the World Series. Elite offensive player, but in the 2018 team, on the leadership pecking order, if you will, he was what, 5th? I mean, you had Betts, Bogarts, J.D. Martinez. I mean, Steve Pearce was the World Series MVP, and of course,
the days of Steve Pearce.
You had Chris Sale on the
modern
pitching
Mike
staff.
Lowell.
Right. So, like, on the leadership pecking order, he was like 5th. And then even in 2021, when they went to the World Series, you could make the argument Kyle Schwarber was as much of a leader, and Chris Sale was still here on that team as Devers was. So he's never been that guy. And look, it's okay. You don't have to be a leader. You can be a highly paid guy and not be a leader. We've seen it many. Manny Ramirez was a highly paid guy and not a leader, right? Like, you can be that, but when you come out and you say things like this that you know are going to be detrimental to the team. And the other thing is, it's not like Alex Bregman just all of a sudden became a free agent 2 days ago when they signed him. They've been talking to Bregman since November. Like, Devers didn't have the foresight to be like, wow, this could affect my position. This could make a difference on how I'm going to handle things in the lineup. Maybe I should prepare for that. And it's like he's surprised that Bregman is there. I mean, they've been talking to him since November, and you didn't think ahead? And this is what we're getting now? It's just, it's crazy to me.
This was a good point that Jones made a little bit earlier on the midday program with Mego filling in for Rich Keefe. He said that this is kind of now, there was a little bit of a FAFO, a Fenway around and find out factor that kicked in here if they had just not dilly-dallied with the salary and just gone up in AAV and in years early on for Bregman, because you knew how badly Cora wanted him, you knew how well he would have fit in on the team, and how badly he wanted to come to where he hits best in the American League, and as he's playing out the back nine of his MLB career with 2 World Series, then maybe, just maybe, you would have had a whole offseason for Raffy to pout and say, nope, screw you guys, I'm taking my bats and my chocolate cakes and I'm going home. And instead, they would have been able to smooth things out, get him back in, discuss it. Maybe they have a rotation at third. Maybe they sell him on the idea over a long period of time. Like, look, someone else used to play defense, and we got away with it for a couple of games in the 2004 World Series and in 2007, but don't think that we weren't biting our nails the whole time. This man became a legend for being just a powerful left-handed bat from the Dominican and one David Ortiz. Hell, fly David Ortiz in wearing that fancy shirt that he wore in the video that went viral of him getting the call that he made it to the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, and have him explain what a legend Raffy Devers can come if he's only a DH. This whole entire idea that this is what I've always done and this is what I'm going to continue to do is just so infuriating, and it is such the epitome of the modern athlete. You know, some may say, like, well, if Larry Bird or someone crossing sports, everyone, pardon me. But, you know, if someone else said, this is where I play and this is what I do, if they were so great at it and they were a legend and you were going to suffer for it, then okay, I can understand why. But when Raffy Devers averages like 18 errors a season and is a league leader in negative defensive metrics, and now you can convince him, or at least he should understand, A, this is where I can go and not worry about butchering ground balls at third, but rather just hitting more moonshots off of Garrett Cole and the likes of the league, and we can go places. And B, I'm a player on a team, and is there anything that is more, even though it's individualistic, than team-oriented as baseball? And now you can contribute to the greater good while getting paid $30 million a year? Like, Dan, honestly, my head is spinning right now. It's in in a whirlwind of frustration on so many levels.
Well, to your point about the team, and well, this is what I've always done. Why should I be bothered to change what my routine has been and what I've been doing as a professional? What's been going on around you? Look at not only just the physical results, the wins and the losses, because those have kind of ebbed and flowed the last few years, but look at the pitching. Look at the way the last few years that your pitching has started to break down as they go through many a start and many a relief appearance where all of a sudden instead of 3 outs, now I have to throw 4 outs. Now I have to face an extra batter, 2 batters, 3 batters. I'm giving up unearned runs. I know that these are indirect consequences, but these are the kind of things that add up when you have a team that has a subpar infield defense and the subpar infield defensive nature of this team can be tracked directly back to Devers and to a certain extent to Trevor Storer being unhealthy. So it's a frustrating lack of understanding of what your group is trying to do here. And I see the acquisition of Alex Bregman as twofold relating to Raffy Devers. And these are not new takes by any stretch of the imagination. It's shoring up the defense at a position that's been a black hole for you for a half decade, if not more. Yep. And it's bringing in an adult in the room because it's clear that last year when you tried to kind of hand the keys over to Devers for this to be his team, you faltered. And the post-Bogarts era has been a bit of a mess under the guy that was supposed to be your leader. So I see two different indictments that come with the Bregman signing. And as a fan, I like what he does for both of those.
Yeah, and not for nothing, over the last 3 years, Bregman's played more games than Devers and has a higher WAR. So just throwing that out. And look at the difference, because you mentioned the adult in the room thing. I think one of the most valuable things about Alex Bregman, this dude's been a major piece of 2 World Series championship teams. He gets it. And look at the difference. He comes in, signs a deal, and says, I'll move positions if that's best for the team.
That's right.
He walks in the door willing to do that, whereas the other guy, who, by the way, is worse than him, is not willing to do that. And like I said, to open the show, a lot of this hinges on Christian Campbell. But if we get to March 25th or 26th and Christian Campbell is ready to go on opening day at second base, then he should be there, and Bregman should be your third baseman, and Devers should be your DH. And if he can't look at that and understand that after them talking to Bregman all winter, like, that's just, it's delusional, and it's really selfish.
You're absolutely nailed it right on the head, Johnny. I see your calls are loading and lining up at 617-779-7937. We will get to you guys in just a moment here, as promised. Also, the text line jammed up, probably like the Mass Pike when it's covered in slush ice and has a 40-mile-per-hour limit on it over the weekend. Wild weather, wild times. Let's see, right here. 508 texter. There is another option, fellas. Trade for Vladdy. If it were only that easy. And by the way, do you want to send? Would you be so insistent on writing the course of the infield and the culture on the team, so much so that you would turn around and trade your most dynamic left-handed bat so that you would have to see him 14 times a year in division? I don't think that would necessarily be an immediate option for the Red Sox. That is suboptimal, to say the least. But if you bring Vladdy to town, I still think he'll hit 50 home runs at Fenway as well. 603, boys. Today's players don't think about we. They only think about me. And another one from a different 603 number. Listen to Bregman's press conference and then listen to Raffy's. You'll quickly understand why one of them has been a consistent winner. Look, Bregman just got paid. He's got a couple World Series in pocket, and maybe that's his DNA. I don't know if this is Raffy's emotional nature. Seems to be the most the most emphatic he's actually been since he's been called upon to be sort of a de facto leader. And yeah, I do think the Red Sox have had to course correct multiple times from the mistakes that they've made years ago with John Lester, and then, paying for other pitchers that they didn't necessarily want, like David Price, who didn't fit in the same way. And then, of course, you deal away Mookie Betts, and they've been scrambling to try to replace that talent. And now they're able to shore up something that has been a constant nag. The defense of the Red Sox on the infield has been comedically bad at times. Like, insert the Curb Your Enthusiasm or Benny Hill music here during the highlights. Bob Lobel era, terrible. And now they have a chance to not only add power to the infield, but also shore up the defense. You could even try to pitch this to Raffy Devers as, you don't have to worry about playing defense. You can be the new David Ortiz. We're going to be a much better team. Everything about this is going to make life so much easier for you. And you're going to come out almost with a sympathetic vote like, oh, look at what Raffy Devers did, everyone. The definition of selfless. What a team player. He was willing to step aside for a superior defensive player, and now he concentrates on his hitting, and he's absolutely mashing. Hell, he could put together an MVP season, and instead now it's 218 on President's Day, and we're wondering exactly, John, how they're going to fix this mess.
Yeah, and I think, too, like there's a texter from the 413 who says Devers will eventually, he'll end up coming around, and that's very possible, right? It's
I hope so.
February, like, because I would not trade Devers unless this gets to a point where there's open infighting between him and Bregman and Cora. But, like, this is also something that 3 or 4 weeks from now, maybe Christian Campbell's not ready. Maybe they want to put Campbell in left field, or maybe they're at a point where Devers kind of accepts it and moves to a DH role. And also, too, if you're Masataka Yoshida, you can't really love hearing all this either.
No.
But
granted,
he's probably like, hello, I got paid $18 million.
He probably hasn't loved the conjecture about himself for about 6 months now.
Yeah,
minimum.
at least. And look, it's the comments are selfish. They're kind of delusional, but it's also comments that can they come around and get back on the same track and be okay? Like that's possible too. So that's why I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, they should trade him for Vlad Jr. this afternoon, or they should trade him for Dylan Cease and someone else this afternoon. But it's something like this is going to now be the biggest storyline for the next 3 weeks of spring training. And it's too bad because you have Garrett Crochet, you have Alex Bregman, you have 3 good young players, probably at least one, if not 2 of them, will be on your opening day roster. You guys, you have a team that can go to the ALCS.
Yeah.
Well, if they stay healthy and Crochet can throw 175, like they can go to the ALCS, but what are we going to talk about? And it's not just us. Like, what are Red Sox fans? What is people around baseball going to be talking about the next 3 weeks? This.
I don't know if I'm wrong in saying this, Fitzy, but I feel like after the Bregman signing was made, wasn't it more of just it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to at least start the season at second base? I didn't think that.
I think
this was more of a
conversation.
conversation. This was more of a conversation, I think, at least on our show of. All right, it's a foregone conclusion he's going to be there. We talked more before the signing of where Bregman would play than when the signing was actually done. It kind of just felt like, all right, you've signed your second baseman, at least for the short term.
Yeah, and that's a good point, too, that you make, John, about, Christian Campbell can have a whole lot to say about this because Trevor Story's coming back. Now, we've all gone to that well several times. We have all tried to kick that football that Lucy has planted in the ground. And we know what happens time and time again. Whatever accident was karmically left over that Chris Sale didn't run into, Trevor Story was able to find, and he never completes a season. But maybe, just maybe, he'll be okay. And I don't know if it's going to be Grissom or it could be Campbell. Like, if Campbell comes out and absolutely just tears the cover off the baseball and is a freaking phenom, like we've heard with people saying this guy has all the tools and then some, like he may not be a 5-tool player. He could be on the cusp of discovering a 6th, 7th, and 8th. What the hell are you supposed to do? Tell Bregman to DH? Tell him to rotate with Yoshida? That's not what you brought him here for. Alex Cora insisted that ownership overspend and give the opt-outs to Alex Bregman because of the leadership and because of the defense, addressing some of the many problems this team has had and what they have lacked the last several years. And if this is just going to be sort of a knee-jerk reactionary thing for Devers today and that eventually he'll come around and you may have to move Yoshida, maybe that's what points to